Shaina began practicing yoga with her grandfather as a child in India. Growing up in India, she developed a deep appreciation for this practice, which has been a constant in her life ever since. She moved to the United States at the age of 18 and has blended the rich traditions of her Indian heritage with her life in America. As a certified sex therapist, licensed psychotherapist, certified relationship and dating coach, she provides a trauma informed, relationship focused approach. Shaina is a private practice entrepreneur, a parent, a partner, and a friend. Her work is deeply rooted in values of service, social justice, and a strong connection to her lineage. You are listening to Pure Yoga Talk from Austin, Texas, and I am your host, Marty Chen. I'm thrilled to be joined today with Shaina Singh. Welcome, Shaina.
Hi, thank you, Marty.
Wonderful to have you. So we're so excited to have you here today, and I'll just, start from the very beginning. So, tell us about your approach to therapy and coaching.
Okay, well, I would say if I had to sum it up in three words, my approach to therapy is therapy and coaching is holistic, it is relational, and it is culturally responsive.
I love that you acknowledge this relationship between mind and body. Please tell us more about that.
Oh, yes, the relationship between our mind and body, I think it's not talked about enough. You know, in my therapy practice, I often I'm a trauma-informed therapist, so a lot of people who come to me have had experience, trauma in their life or acutely stressful events. And something that I have found over and over and over is that trauma, stuck emotions, grief, sometimes even anger, all of these emotions, experiences, they get stuck and they stay in our bodies. So, effective therapy, I think that it's really important to be able to metabolize and release these stuck emotions and experiences from a body because this is not going to connect with your body if this is your body's holding on to a lot of things that have not been released. So the relationship between the mind and body is so profound and it absolutely cannot be neglected.
Totally agree. Absolutely. So, how can widespread access to therapy improve our world?
Oh, I love that question. I wish everybody would go to therapy, and I think that if everybody had access to therapy, it would decrease social problems. People would have greater empathy and compassion for one another. Um, Also, mental health would be destigmatized. Everybody would have access to it, and nobody would feel shame about going to therapy. The other thing I think is going to be really helpful is it's going to help strengthen people's relationships with themselves, but also with a lot of, other people around. And it's going to help improve people's mental health and emotional well-being.
Yeah, and I love, we'll talk about this a little bit later as well, but you talk about normalizing mental health, and that phrase, just sticks with me because I mean, I remember even, 20, 30 years ago, it was just this, like you said, like this stigma. And I think the more people talk about it, they're better able to process it even and see that we're all the same. We all have, trauma from somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I have never met a person who hasn't had experiences that either don't fall in the category of trauma or acutely stressful events. We're not alone in this, but I know that sometimes when we have experienced trauma, trauma makes us feel like we're the only ones.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So talking about your kind of switching gears a little bit, talking about your yoga path, which I find so interesting. So tell us about your first yoga experience in India.
Oh, I have this this memory that and it's a real memory because it would happen with my grandparents because they raised me and they were older people so they would wake up really early and every morning when I would wake up and I would go back, go in the backyard and my grandfather was there, 6 o'clock on the dot, doing yoga. He would often invite me to join him, and I have these really special, and now looking back, they feel very sacred to me. These memories of connecting with him, in with yoga, but also just getting to know yoga from such an early young age with him.
Well, that sounds like such a dream. I think people come into the studio and they're, no matter what age, even in their early 20s, and they say, oh, I wish I had started this, when I was younger. And so, what a gift that your grandfather gave to you to plant that seed, within you. So that's very
Thank you.
special. So, when and where did you practice your first original hot yoga class? And what made you come back for more?
Well, the year was 2009. I was training for a half marathon. This was also right after the death of my stepfather, so I was very much in a grief fog. Just, walking around. I was also in grad school, walking around with immense heartache. Grief feels like heartache. Um, and I realized that the running was just not really helping me with my grief. I needed something more. And I remember having this really profound moment of, I need something more. I need guidance. What is it? And the answer was like, it's yoga. Go back to yoga. So this is also when I was living in Fort Worth. So the first yoga studio, the hot yoga studio that I went to was actually all the way in Grapevine. So it was a long trek, but I was committed. And I remember just being in that class and it being hot, and it reminded me of like the tropical Indian summers. It just felt like home. And I never looked back after that class.
I think what you just said, I think a lot of people can resonate with that. I think a lot of people, in my experience, come to a class or, practice yoga online because they're there's something going on inside, and the answer is not outside of them. It's, connecting with something internal and finding healing, whether it's physical healing, like you talk about, healing certain trauma, and just connecting with yourself, right? And really, I think this is kind of used a lot, but it really is learning to show love toward yourself and being good to yourself in that way. So, well, we're lucky that you did that and stuck with it because you're a big part of this yoga community. And every time you come into the studio, seeing you go, have two children and practice through your pregnancy was really inspiring. So, thank you for doing that.
Thank you for creating that space. I cannot tell you enough how grateful I was to have such a safe space during my pregnancy. Pregnancy is hard as it is, and to have my own space where I could practice, um, and just the love I felt from people around me, the students, the teachers. No, thank you, Marty, for having you and Jeff for having that space for me.
You're amazing, which is why we're doing this. It's like more people need to know you and what you do, and the many roles that you play. It's pretty awesome. Which leads me to tell us about your workshop, Releasing Emotional Burdens, a transformative body focused workshop.
Mm. I am just so excited. I could shout from the rooftops about this workshop. So this workshop is about using your breath, sound, and movement to release grief, anger, maybe resentment, anxiety, whatever is stuck in your body that's no longer serving you. We're going to be doing a lot of like somatic releases together. I'm going to be kind of, focused on really going to be talking a lot about normalizing mental health, the mind-body connection. And my hope is that, during class, people feel seen, witnessed in their emotional experience, but and then as they do these somatic releases, they, when they leave, they would feel lighter. So I am just over the moon excited about this class, and thank you for this opportunity to even host it at the studio.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The more you and I talk and get to know each other, and I just thought again, you need to share this with people. And I love that you're taking this, you know, sort of seemingly more physical approach, but it's getting the body, to move those emotions, because as you said, trauma that's not addressed or emotional pain, suffering, can manifest in some kind of, injury or condition, challenge. So love that. And I love, that this is very practical, right? So as you mentioned in one of our calls, if someone is having an emotional shift or is looking for a release, you're giving them certain tools that they can use to immediately address those kinds of, kind of scary situations, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I know for myself, Shina, coming in and hearing, oh, an emotional release, what does that entail? I'm going to be maybe with people I don't know. This is very personal, kind of information. Can you elaborate a little bit more on exactly what we'll be doing this workshop?
Yes, of course. And I'm so glad you asked that because I know that for some people it really helps them to kind of also visualize what they're walking into. So let me paint a picture of what this workshop will look like. So we're going to begin with a little bit of conversation. I'm not going to ask people to like, be vulnerable or talk about, what's going on with them, but it will just be me sharing a little bit of scientific data, some evidence-based, percentages about, what happens to our bodies when we have unmetabolized stuck trauma, grief, kind of just sitting there. And then we're going to begin with a meditation to kind of, just connect to our bodies and have our bodies be open to receiving this wisdom. And then, and letting our bodies know that this is going to be a very brave space. And then we're going to have some somatic releases that are going to be done standing up. And I will be kind of leading them, showing people what to do, and people can join in. Um, People are going to bring their yoga mats. This is a non-heated class. They're going to have water. So, anytime, just like our hot yoga class, anytime somebody needs to take a knee, they'll take a knee. There's absolutely no pressure. So that's the standing part of the class. And then there's also some somatic releases we'll do. Once again, using a breath, sound, movement. They're going to be, sitting down. So a lot of these somatic releases, they use the movements and our hands are very much involved. So a lot of this movement comes from our hands and then you connect that with the sound and the breath. So really that's the gist of it. It is there's no pressure on anyone. I have found that a lot of people join in. They really, once they start to see and start to feel, because you will start to feel this energy flow through you. You'll start to kind of feel like something metabolizing in you. Um, I noticed that, and when people, as we begin the class and people are sitting, and then there's just heart chakra starts to open up more. People start to kind of get warmed up, feeling a little safe, talking. So, um, yeah, this is going to be a very brave experience. I think it is very scary walking into anything new. Um, I'm a therapist, and my biggest goal, even when I work one-on-one with clients, is to make sure that people are feeling safe. And this is going to be a brave space. So we're going to try, things that you may not have tried before. But I want you to remember, if you do hot yoga, you have a foundation. You know how to move your body. Trust that wisdom within you. I think this is going to be a workshop where people can expect to have an outlet for their bodies. And we live in a society that is, like we're always overworked. We are just saturated with information and social media and news and all of that. Even when we're not thinking about it, it's getting stored in our bodies. So my hope is that when people come to this workshop, they are able to have an outlet where they can have a release and walk away Maybe, maybe there might be some people who already go to therapy and they might find this a supplement. You're like, oh, this is amazing to complement this. And I hope that maybe there are some people who will walk away that might be, thinking of going to therapy, and they might be more open to the idea of talk therapy. Like I said, talk therapy is great, but effective therapy really needs to combine the mind-body connection. Um, and I don't think you can have one without the other. So please come to my workshop. I would love to have you.
Awesome. Yes, yes, we will be there. We'll all be talking about it, and we're super excited. So, to check out this and more workshops at Pure Yoga Texas in Austin and Dallas, please click the link below. Thank you so much, Shaina. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we will see you, if not before the 26th, we'll see you on October 26th.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you for
Awesome.
having me.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.